Good morning, everyone. I think it's great to see that we have a large crowd here. I had an expectation that after the pre-event party yesterday, most of you will not make it, but it's great to see you here. I'll be talking about the future of what we think digital solutions will look like. But I'll start by prefacing using some of the trends that have been happening over the last couple of years, which are then making digital solutions quite critical in the years to come. I think everyone knows the statement that software is eating the world. But from a day-to-day perspective, this is a reality. I think each one of you has a smartphone in their pockets. Each one of you interacts using different types of communication tools. Is it WhatsApp, SMS, email, etc.? You make all your payments in a digital manner, either via debit card, credit card, or mobile money for the sake of interacting with businesses one way or the other. And closer home in Africa, we are seeing a lot of governments starting to digitize. And in my mind, when you see governments digitizing or government adopting digital ways of transactions, then it means you can't really be left behind as a business, regardless of your size. Whether you're a large business or a small business, I think you need to get your act right. And for a long time, people have built these solutions for consumers, meaning on the consumer side of things, there's a lot of push that is going to businesses. And these are solutions that cut across what many people like to build in fintech, which is payments. So a lot of people do payment solutions already, but if you look at it broadly, when you reach out to a business via WhatsApp, they need to have a process to ensure that they can get that communication in a structured manner. When you complain that your bank has blocked your account on Twitter, they need to have a way to quickly associate that complaint to their own back-end processes. And this cut across all types of business processes, whether it's HR, whether it's procurement, etc. A lot more businesses are being forced to adopt digital means of interacting with consumers. And broadly, what this is happening is, and especially for small businesses, all of a sudden, you are in a space where you're getting probably 50 customers a day. They're interacting with you on a face-to-face basis, but the digitization or the online presence has opened the entire world in a way to come to your store. Somebody can be buying online, somebody can be sending somebody to pick something for them, you send it via logistics, courier, and you need to be able to map all this. And for a lot of small businesses, this is creating a lot of pain because of the amount of data that is being generated. Not to say that for large corporates, this is not a problem, but for them, it's a different type of problem because they're going through digital transformation. They're moving from IBM to Salesforce, etc. They can afford these solutions. They have the budget to hire data scientists and the like. But for smaller businesses, these large data sets are a real problem because all of a sudden, you are faced with reconciliation problems when you're receiving payments. In a multi-channel payment method world, you can receive a card payment, an M-Pesa payment, and all various types of payments, including things like crypto. So you can imagine what that does at the back office. A business at some point needs to get to a solution that makes them to optimize that so that they can be a lot more productive. And that's a big opportunity for a lot of the tech startups here. Because as you think about tech-enabled solutions, as you think about solutions that can solve this big data pain for businesses, how do you enable them to adopt technology? How do you enable them to transform, assuming they already have some form of technology? And broadly, businesses are faced with a number of challenges. There are solutions which are already available online, but they may not be suitable for the market. There are solutions which are available, but in a very fragmented manner, which creates a new problem because all these systems are not speaking to each other. So I think as we think about solutions to build for businesses, especially in Africa, I think the critical thing to understand is, one, who in the market are you building for? Is it the informal set of businesses? Is it small SMEs? Is it more sophisticated SMEs? Because that then informs the type of products that you'll build for them. And as you think about the type of product, the distribution is also key. And the distribution, you can look at it in a number of ways. Assuming, say, I look at what Moniepoint is doing. Moniepoint builds solutions for small businesses. In the small businesses space, the one thing you immediately face is a trust barrier. If I walk today to a small business and tell them I want to be able to bank you, they will want to see, okay, what does my brand presence, or my brand strength look like? They need to have comfort that their money is safe with me. They need to know that if they have issues, they have access to a customer support person that they can speak to, and speaking to either in their local language or in a language that they can clearly communicate with each other. And Moniepoint has tried to structure its products in more or less a digital type solution, but being distributed in an offline manner, meaning most of our salespeople are hired from the community. And because of the hyper-local nature, it means that because they already come from that community, the trust barrier is lowered. This is your neighbor speaking to you. This is your neighbor trying to sell a solution to you. It makes it an easier conversation. The only time they can say no to you is because the solution does not work for them, or the solution is not something that solves a critical problem for them. So once the trust barrier is out, it's a question of what value do they get from the business. Is it solving a pain point that they see on a day-to-day basis? Is it a real solution that they're willing to pay for? Because a lot of time, we can sit and imagine really fancy solutions in the offices and imagine that this is what the market needs. But the pain that the market has and the pain that they will pay for is slightly different. And I'm emphasizing the issue around paying for it because I think it's a critical step. If a business is not willing to pay for a solution, it means the problem may not be that painful. Because all painful problems usually have some implicit costs. I'll give an example of, say, the solution or the problem that agency banking solved. Agency banking solved the problem where customers needed to find a bank branch, they needed to find an ATM so that they can get access to their cash. But agency banking made that easier. They could get us cash or withdraw cash if they needed from the same store where they would purchase their day-to-day goods. They didn't need to leave their locality to access that. And that convenience, or the gap that convenience created, meant that they're able to save some money, meaning if you charge them a transaction fee, that transaction fee was a convenience fee that they found really, really, really helpful. So getting to a point where you can charge for a solution is critical. And pricing may be a function of many things, because when people see pricing underbanked, underserved, I think there's always that worry that they may not be able to afford it. But once you consider these implicit costs that the businesses, that the consumers already face, then it becomes an easier conversation because you're looking at it from the customer perspective. They already have this cost, and their solution is just helping to make it more convenient. And as we build the product, I think the other thing that we also consider as part of Moniepoint, and I think more startups broadly, is to build for the largest markets. Because everyone has a dream to become a unicorn. Everyone has a dream to become the next Bill Gates, to become the next Steve Jobs, etc. And as you build for that, it means you need to target the largest markets that we have available. In Africa, the GDP is primarily driven by MSMEs. Like small businesses account for the bulk of the employment. They account for the bulk of the number of business owners. They also account for the largest, or more than half of what the GDP looks like. And it's a big enough market that if you figure a solution for them, it means you are more or less in the money from day one. And some people have been able to figure this really, really well. Telcos have done it, and other types of fintechs, especially in the payment space, have already done it, which means if you're building other types of digital solutions that solve big pain points for businesses, then there is room to make money. Because at the end of the day, any startup that sets up to sell a solution is not doing it just because you want to create something that's valuable, not only for you, but valuable also to the business. And outside of payments, I think there are a lot of other problems that startups can look at to solve. A lot of people have figured out the payments layer, but where do we move from there? And this is where the opportunity for differentiated types of business solutions can come in. It can either be targeting a specific vertical, like hospitality solutions. It can either be targeting a specific business process, like procurement. It can be targeting identity management, fraud management, etc. Because all these are real problems that businesses face on a day-to-day basis. And most of the solutions that are already available may not be very suitable for what they do. A clear example is, say, a solution I'm sure most of you see on a day-to-day basis if you have already adopted some form of technology, something like Expensify. Expensify, built for the US market, works really well there because all the integrations to banks, etc. are available. You put such a solution in the hands of a business in Africa, all of a sudden they're faced with two problems. It becomes a standalone solution, doesn't integrate into their bank, doesn't integrate properly into the employee systems that are already available. And what that does, it makes the experience subpar, while in the developed world is a more seamless experience. So as businesses think about which solutions to adopt, I think these are critical things that they always take in mind. And startups can then build to solve that. And as you solve it, there is the notion of impact, and a lot of startups want to make an impact. And making an impact is not always about something that looks good on photos. It can be something that is embedded in the business itself. You're solving a pain point that increases productivity, you increase profits. A good example is, say, a business which receives a lot of payments. They have to hire a lot of accountants who, at the end of the day, they then have to start reconciling all the payments they have received during the day. That wastes their own time. It wastes the productivity of the business, and if you're able to solve that, then naturally the profits of the business will increase. And what you're charging for the solution is implicitly embedded in these gains that they see. And I'll give you a 5-second ad so that we can associate this problem with a real life solution that Moniepoint is trying or is in the journey to solve. I think for Moniepoint, one thing that we believe is the systems, especially in the payment space, are becoming very, very fragmented. And this fragmentation is causing a new layer of problems. So we have tried to create a solution centered around a bank account. And the bank account is a really good platform to build upon because you're able to tightly integrate quite a number of things. We can tightly integrate instant payments, which means you are reconciling all your payments on the fly, independent of the payment method. And there, the opportunity it gives is, as we see your flows, we don't need to ask you for paper-based applications. We can immediately offer you a working capital facility on the basis of the business turnover, on the basis of the industry that you operate in, on the basis of what we see is an opportunity, because we can more or less try to implicitly calculate the margins for that business. And all these flows are available to a business owner who has, say, more than one location. You don't need to be at the store each and every day. You can manage your business wherever you are. Gives you a lot more time to think about new ideas rather than being focused on creating controls around how the business is operating. And ultimately, the next layer, once you have embedded all this in a single integrated platform, is you have very clean data to then build business management solutions. This can be simple tools like accounting solutions. You see all the information, so it's a question of just classifying that data. 2, you can pay all your employees on that same platform. So already 2 problems are being solved, which are day-to-day pain points for the business. And all this is on the basis of these transactions that you see on the data. And I don't think we're the only ones who are doing it. There are a lot of fintechs in the house, and all of you are trying to solve this problem in one way or the other. But ultimately, the largest market that people need to go for is the SME market, because this is where the pain is felt the most. This is where there's a really big opportunity that needs to be tapped. And ultimately, if we're able to solve this pain for SMEs, we increase their own productivity and we grow the African economy. I think that's mostly it for me. I think hopefully this has helped to more or less indicate why this is a big opportunity, even though it's a very heuristic and a simplistic way to capture this. Thanks, and hopefully I'll see you around and pass by the Moniepoint stage. You can have a coffee, and you can catch up on what we are all doing to solve this problem. Thank you. Any questions? I always love when there are no questions. It means I was either very boring or I was very clear